Attention, bobsled riders! You will soon be embarking on a thrilling podcast down the icy slopes of the Matterhorn. So please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the bobsled at all times. Auf Wiedersehen!
Hello, yodelers! We are the Matterhorn Yodelers. I am your host today, Peter, with my co-host
Jackie
and
Japheth
and
Father Yodeler.
And today we are talking about the Disney legends.
All of them?
Some of them.
You're going to cover a lot because I only know about one right now.
We're going to cover 4 today.
Oh, good.
4 total today. I know D23 just happened, and so they just announced some new Disney legends, and so we're going to be talking about some of the other Disney legends that have received the award in the past, and talk about their contributions to the Disney company and why they are considered Disney legends. And we all kind of each picked our own, which is kind of fun.
Especially when you have no idea who this person
Yep.
is when you pick them. It's like, oh,
I ran into that situation too. I picked the person and I go, oh my gosh, they did this, they did this, they did this. Oh wow, okay.
It's like, you deserve this.
Yeah.
You weren't just a voice
in
in a cartoon,
Right.
and they're trying to bolster up this Legends ceremony.
Right.
Like, you really...
You weren't just in one Disney movie, a very popular movie, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you actually contributed. So, Japheth, you're going to start us off. So, who did you pick? And let us know about your
I
legend.
picked Wing Ti Chow. So, I was scrolling through the list and I was like, you just see a bunch of like asterisks or crosses next to people's.
Right.
And I'm all like, this one doesn't have any. And that name stuck out. And I was all like, well, let me just type in the name and see what pops up. Hey, there was a Wikipedia. So I was like, all right, I think I'm going to do this one. Didn't really look too much into it. But as I was saying, you go into it and you're like, wow, what
Yeah.
a career.
Yeah.
What a life. And so this guy probably I watched his acceptance of his award. He received it in 2019. The list of people that he's with is Robert Downey Jr., Christina Aguilera. Is like they're all celebrities, and there's like 2 people
Right.
that are just like regular, Disney cast members that made an impact on the company.
Right.
And so I was all like, oh, cool. Funny thing about his acceptance, he had a like a mask, not a mask, but like a little sign, but with Jackie Chan's face on it. He goes, "Hi, I'm Jackie Chan," just to like, because he was in such company with all these celebrities, and he just wanted to like lighten up. Like, I know you don't know me, but like, here, I'm gonna make you laugh. And it just I was like, okay, this guy has a sense of humor and the sense of just of knowing his company and just
Right.
like, hey, let me just tell you something real quick and then I'll go. So Wing Ti Chow, he was a Chinese-born U.S. immigrant who was born in 1944 in Sichuan, China. So I mean, he's born during World War II, and then I think his family migrated to Taiwan, during their Civil War, and then in his teens, his family migrate to the United States, and he goes to school at UC Berkeley for architecture, and gets a bachelor's and master's there. And then while he was there, he goes to Disneyland, and he was blown away.
About what year was that, maybe?
I mean, he was in college, so it's probably like 1960, mid-60s.
Okay. All right.
So maybe around the time when Walt was still around.
I was
Or
just
not.
trying to position my mind. Where are we?
So he's in
this?
college. So, I
Okay.
mean, 20 years from 1944 is
Okay.
1964. So it could have been 22. So
Yeah.
that's 66. So he's there during the Walt era, and he's
Right.
blown away that someone could take their imagination and create a place as that. And he goes, this is the kind of place where I'd want to work. And when he was in college, he tried to get a job there during the summer, and they're like, nope. And so he went on to Harvard, got his
big
master's in urban
I
design.
can't get into Disneyland. I'll go into Hollywood.
Okay,
Harvard.
I'll go to Harvard. That's a second best choice right there.
Right.
He writes his thesis on a free time city, so about designing a place. What place was something like that? Can you think of a place that was supposed to be
Some sort of experimental.
experimental city
Yeah.
of
Some
the
sort of
future?
prototype,
Yeah, of tomorrow.
Some sort of community.
something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And so, you write something like that, and whoa, what's going on in the 1970s? He gets hired in 1972. What does he get? What's going on? Disney World, Magic Kingdom's
opened.
built. Oh, that's right. Epcot's going on right now. Oh, and so what does he do? He gets hired on with the Imagineers. His first project is to work on the Disney Village, the Pleasure Island era. He worked for the Epcot Center transportation and the master layouts of Epcot. And so you really think about it. Like, I don't know if you guys, I work there, and so I don't know. Like, there's the employee entrance. There's their own way of getting in and out of there. There's the ring that goes around the whole Epcot on the outside.
Right.
And so I was like, all right. So when you're planning things, you're hoping like there's going to be things done already.
Right.
But that's not the case with Epcot,
Nope.
right?
It was all a clean slate.
It was all
Nope.
clean slate, and there were some holes going, there's going to be something here, and
Yeah.
we're going to have to move things in and out of here, and it's kind of a swamp all around, and we're going to
Yeah.
have this monorail train come in, and we're
There
going to have all
was-
these people, we're going to have a working place, and it's like, wow, your job is to like, here, lay this all out, knowing that there's going to be a hole here, here, and here, and you got to
Yeah.
move things around. Oh, yeah, we're going to put a big aquarium right here.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So the logistics and the planning of like, and we want you to plan how to get people in and out of this park.
Yeah. It was interesting because like you look at the different layouts they had in the process of them where we finally get the Epcot that we know, and it just like so different.
Well,
It's
sure.
gone to
Yeah,
so
they,
many
they had nothing
transformations.
to pattern it off of. They weren't doing the Magic
Right.
Kingdom. They were doing something totally new.
And then you're like, all right, now we're going to have these all connected with like the monorail, a bus system. Oh,
Right.
people want to drive their car in too. So we have to move all these. So he has like from his learning of you got to move people in and out with the experience, and he really made a name for himself with being part of this team and this development, because he really does go on to like working after that is he's working on all the resorts that go around and developing the architecture kind of theming and the timing. Like for his Disney architecture, like his philosophy was about you got to tell a story. You got to guide the guest movement, and you got to create an emotional resonance and then kind of blend art and engineering. It's just not a set.
Right.
It's just like it's got to be functional still with everything, and you're like wow, this guy has touched everything that we've experienced, and you have no clue because you're like, oh, Imagineers, ride. It's like,
Right.
no, it's like he created the sandbox for these Imagineers to place all their stuff. So he's doing all the resorts, and then he goes on, he becomes global expansion leadership, where he's a VP of park resorts, part of the master planning and architecture design. He basically helped pioneer entertainment architecture, the thematic designing for like hotels and resorts. He's a key negotiator in Paris and doing the outlay, like the master planning for the Val d'Europe community. He's a negotiator in Hong Kong. He's part of the early planning of Shanghai, where you're like trying to present it to like the
Right.
Chinese government, like, hey, we want to put this here, and trying to sell them on that idea. One of his big impacts was the cruise line. He was in charge of like designing
A ship.
a ship.
Oh yeah, he was just in the specials they've got now on the Disney.
He was
Plus
part of the
about
magic and
cruise.
wonder being created. He went to like Italy. He was part of like, all right, we want to move these guests. We want to have themes, lands like the parks. We want the cabins to be towards families, not just couples. Just to change what the norm is and to go with a classic look with that Queen Mary kind of ocean liner. You know, and he doesn't have experience. He's urban plan designer. You know, you tell a kid from Harvard, it's like, hey, you didn't get into Disneyland, but you're going to do these cool plans and you're going to design boats and they're going to be really cool themes and it's going to be a success where it's going to continue on. He'd be like, you're crazy. That's not what I'm going to do. But he just, it's kind of that like, what is it, Bob Girl, where you're just like, oh, I'm a mechanic, but Walt's going to use you for whatever. He kind of adopts that type of Walt culture of like, yeah, I'm just going to do this and that. He had his hand in just about everything. So yeah, he had a 37-year, like he worked with the company for 37 years, retired in 2009, just had great success and impact. And you just can't go to the park and not, you know, feel his like impact and just being there and the layouts and having the place for Imagineers to create this. I mean, he was the part of the California Adventure design, and you just think about it, everything has a flow. It's kind of a circle motion with like Epcot in there. It doesn't get bottlenecked. You know, it's just a different.
So I guess he wasn't a part of the planning stage for MGM Studios.
That one's just like, yeah, that was like that was like a weird tree branch off. That one, yeah, I don't know. I think he had moved on to something else at that point, but
Right.
yeah, I was just amazed with what he did and just the ability to stretch beyond his ability and kind of just and at the end of his speech he you know, he thanked the executives, the people that were there, but he goes, I give it out to my parents, my mom and my dad. They're the ones who, you know, my dad was an engineer, architect, and my mom was a teacher, and like both of them, you know, gave me what I needed so I could become what I am to this day. And he just had a very humble speech, but he brought his own personality with his humor, and I really appreciated that I randomly stumbled upon this name. I was like, wow, that person's not dead and they received an award. That's really cool. Let's find out what they've done. And I was like, this is cool.
He brightened up all the documentaries I saw with him on. He's just very bright and personable and a kind of a fun interview, or else the editors do a great job of editing the interviews. Because he
has a good energy.
Uh-huh.
You can just tell it's all like, it's not a chore for him. And not like the interview part, but just being an engineer or being an architect and just, you know, try to take the story and create emotion with the environment around you. I was like, oh, this is so cool. And he developed his own philosophy with you know, being an architect. And I felt it was like, oh, wow, he was like the next gen of Walt.
Yeah.
And like, you could see why he moved up in the company, because he just had great success and was like, you could feel like the execs were like, oh, you're saying yes and you're happy about doing this. Cool. Like, let's do this.
Yeah.
Wing Ti Chow. Cool guy.
Cool guy.
Cool guy. Give him an award. 2019.
All right, Jackie, why don't you give us your person?
All right, my person is Vesey Walker, and Vesey is the creator of the Disneyland Marching Band.
Vesey Walker. That's
Vesey
an interesting name.
Yeah.
Vesey. When
With a
was
V?
she born?
Oh, it's a he.
Oh, it's a he. Okay.
Yes.
Bessie sounded like a Bessie. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what
Vesey.
I was like, V. I was like, is
The
that a
V,
V?
Betsy.
Yes. So he was born in Sheffield, England in 1893.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, older
Older
dude.
than Walt.
Yeah. He decided to come to the United States in 1912 because all the famous bands were there.
Well, that was great timing. He's like,
Yes.
boy, man, there's war going on right over there.
Right.
Let's go to America.
Yep.
That seems like a great place to go.
And within 10 years of being in the United States, he organized 30 school bands in the Milwaukee area.
He's the music man.
Yeah.
Yep. And he's later known as like the modern day music man. He became like head bandmaster of the Marquis University Band in 1930. In the mid-30s, he moved to Hollywood, where he conducted musical scores and films. For films, I only saw one film, so maybe he like assisted on some other films. But after a year arriving on the West Coast, he organized the Los Angeles Elks Club. The Toppers was their nickname. It was a marching band. He also organized marching band tournaments for the Rose Bowl parade and led the Elks Club for like 20 years. And then Vesey worked with Walt on a project before Disneyland opened. And then he signed an agreement. He was hired for an agreement to be to put together a marching band for Disneyland for the opening. For his contract was only 2 weeks, so Walt only hired him, or was only wanting a marching band for 2 weeks.
Right, they needed somebody for the opening, and it was, the money was tight, so that makes sense.
Yeah, fun fact, he was hired by his son. His son was head of...
Vesey's son?
Vesey's son.
Okay.
Let me get his name. Tommy Walker was his son. He was the Disney entertainment director for Disneyland.
Okay.
I know a music man.
He was actually hesitant to hire him because he was afraid of like nepotism. But
you're a nepo dad, not a nepo baby, but a nepo dad.
But Walt just wanted the
nepo
best,
dads are the worst.
and Walt had worked with them, so he was like, "Just get him." And
Walt's like, everything's on fire, and he's like, "Hey, I got this music." Whatever. The music bad guy is the least of my problems.
I'm dealing with wet cement, plumbing, drinking fountains.
So, Walt, I got this band guy.
Sure, yeah.
Whatever.
But it's my dad. I don't care. Just
Is he gonna have pants on? Yeah, he'll have pants on.
all right, good.
Sounds like a great band guy. That's how I see that going on. Walt, like months and weeks before, you could have asked him for anything. I bet his kid's like, "I want a pony." Get that kid a pony. Get away from me.
And so, but the band was so popular, they kept the marching band at Disneyland. And
to this day, even though it's changed.
Yes,
some.
it has modernized.
They're smaller.
It's modernized.
It's more like college marching
Yes.
bands now. Well, at least Disneyland is. I think
Disney Worlds are older.
They're still like old school marching bands.
There was the guy who
think
had the
so.
arrow through, the comedic relief guy.
right.
And they'd always march out right in the doorway into Liberty Square.
Right.
That was their entryway. So I'd see them all the time as I'm parking strollers.
Yeah, so he did the marching band at Disneyland for 15 years before he retired. During that time, he actually got attacked by a rare spinal virus where he was paralyzed for months, and doctors said, you're never going to walk again, but he wouldn't accept it, and he's like, I'm not going to give up, and he's like, I got to get back to my band. So he was dedicated to his work. He loved his work. And he got healed. Over time, he got better, and he was able to walk with a cane, which was amazing. Vesey was very proud leading the band down Main Street. He did a lot of concerts all throughout the Disney park. He retired in 1970 and then later passed away in 1977.
He was like 76, 77 when he retired.
Yeah. So, other kind of interesting things. So, yeah, he was hired by Tommy Walker, and I was like, oh, I wonder if his son is a legend. He's not. And it's interesting because his son actually got fired by Walt in 1965.
Ooh, that's bad.
Nepotism. It was all about the nepotism.
Due to, and I tried to look into what happened, and it was just like due to disagreements and bad judgment.
Ooh, someone screwed up.
And I was like, oh, something bad happened.
Yep. Like he wasn't there, and something like fell through.
But he after Disney, he directed parades, and he was very Olympics.
Talk about Tommy Walker.
Yeah, Tommy Walker was very successful after Disney, so it's not a.
Tommy was outside Orange County, like I used to be someone. I used to be an entertainer.
No,
I'm the one who gave my dad his shot, and now I'm back in his shadow.
Oh, I saw him on Harbor Boulevard. There with that can, you know.
They've got a statue for him. Poor old Tommy, haunting the streets.
His company got bought out by like the big what is it, the Rock of Hall fame in New York or something like that. Radio City.
Rock and Roll
City.
Yeah,
okay.
Radio City.
Yeah, that little thing right there, Radio City.
It was like his company. Yeah, his company got bought out by Radio City, so he was very successful.
Oh, okay.
But it
Poor
was
Tommy.
But it was interesting that his dad became a legend. But
Walt's like, do not give him an award. 50 down here. I'm still mad at him.
What year did he get inducted as a legend?
2005.
Okay.
So
Did Tommy receive the award?
I don't know.
I mean, he would have been like,
He probably
would have. He would have been like 95.
Yeah.
This one's for you, Walt.
Yeah. By the spring of 1959, the Disneyland Band was performing 1,600 concerts annually. So he was in charge of that. And so he was basically a worldwide acclaimed as a band leader because of Disney. And so it was really cool.
That's cool that they were able to remember him.
So what year did
Like
he
45
retire
years
roughly
later.
from Disney?
Or 35.
1970.
1970. Okay.
So 35 years from when he retired, you know, they still remember the band leader. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the marching band has such an impact in the Disney park. It just gives like such good energy and vibes, and just to think that it was only like a 2-week contract.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Jackie. We learned a lot about them, about Vesey. Father Yoder, who do you have?
I have Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson.
Now, I was a little
sausage
afraid. I
maker.
thought, I?
I'm a number 2.
I did a legend for Jimmy Dodd.
Right.
And
He's
I
doing all the
thought, well,
Jimmies.
yeah, I'm doing all the Jimmies, but
How about Jiminy Cricket? Close.
Well, you did almost, right?
he got his legend in 2006, and overall, the reason he got his legend is he's the one that really started the Disney company on having their own record company, their own music company that distributed its own music for.
Did they do it through RKO or something like that?
Well, there was
past?
in the past they licensed it out. Like if you look at some of the old CDs and so on that I have, you'll find things like "Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf" and the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs are licensed to Irving Berlin's company, production company, because he bought the rights and then distributed at that time.
Disney's like, I'll take whatever money you'll give me for like this.
At the time,
you're like, I need to pay some bills.
Yeah, at that time, yes, that's probably what it was. And they tried to buy it back, but Irving Berlin's wife,
They're like, nah,
said, no, he spent his whole life building this up. I'm not going to break it up at that point. So there was no sale on that. So at this point, the Disney company just needs to buy out that company and then sell off everything else except for their Disney music if they want to keep it. But it was brand new to me. I didn't know anything, but and the only source I read was the book that he wrote right after he left the company, and it was not published for 25, 30 years after that time. But he wrote it at his house, and then he actually died a few months after he had written the book about his life. It's called My Life at the Whimsy Works. And Whimsy Works referring to the Walt Disney Company, because when he started at the Disney Company, that's what all the young kids that were working there just starting out called the place, because it was... What do they do there? It's all whimsy. It's magical. It's in one sense it was kind of a negative, but in a positive sense. It's all kind of creative, which can seem foolish, but it's magical at the same time. And so He as I said, he got his award in 2006. He was long gone at that point. He was born in 1917, and his desire growing up was to become a journalist. Not a newspaper man, he said, but a full-fledged, I want to be a journalist. And he went to college at UCLA. It's the Depression. So he says that's all he and his parents could afford. And
darn! All I can afford is UCLA.
And they're different in the 30s of what the life in California was like. But he wanted to be a journalist. The only thing that they could offer him was an English major, and so he went into English. He would keep a diary, he called it a chronicle, but mostly to hone his skills in writing, since he wanted to be a journalist. So he'd write about the things that he did. One of his early entries there while he was in college was from 1938, when he first saw the movie Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And he was, to say the least, and I should say, the Whimsy Works, I found it on Amazon as a Kindle book, and they listed it as free. So it's highly accessible, and it's fun because it gives you insights of the early company.
It's always nice getting the voice of the actual person's perspective, because they as you read those type of like biographies, they're like, it feels like someone's talking to you, like I'm telling you a story, and not just all like, I did this,
yes,
and this is where I did this.
There's emotion with the events,
right?
As opposed to it being just very factual, black and white. Like, this is what happened. They had this thought, and it's like, okay, but when someone goes like, "Oh, Walt was really mad. Someone drank his coffee.
Right.
Don't drink Walt's coffee."
Exactly.
Like, you're like, whoa, man, Walt did not tolerate anybody stealing his drink. I'm not saying that, but it's
I
just
wonder
like,
if that's what happened to Tommy.
and that
Tommy
was
drank the wrong coffee.
And that was actually the fun of reading this book, because it really gave me some history of Walt and Roy from not the professional view, but somebody from the sidelines looking in, kind of, and not necessarily on the front line for the most part. Although he did a lot of things.
He's not right there next to like where he's direct, like the animators, where they have like, well, if I build up Walt's like lore, I can, piggyback off that lore of like I was one of them that, the what is it, the 7 old men or something like that?
9.
The 9 old, yeah.
men.
Those, like where they really glorify things, and you don't hear too much of them going like what really happened, because they would be tarnishing their own view.
Anyway, Amazon offered me the book for free, so I was happy to take it and read up on them. And if it's free for you, it's probably worth looking into it if you're interested in Disney history and so on. It gives a nice perspective from a different angle, and there's some great quotes in there that I'm probably not going to miss. It'll be probably more date to date than fun stories, but we'll see what we can find. Anyway, when he was in college, he went to see Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and he was blown away. He said, "This is the future. This is like George Lucas seeing Space 2001. It's like, whoa, these special effects are the future." This was him seeing Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs with all the color and the movement of the animation and the scenery and the music and everything. He said, I could suddenly see every book that I had ever read that was fanciful, like Alice in Wonderland and so on, that could be developed into movies now that don't look like it's somebody shooting somebody performing on a stage or something, which is kind of what the silent movies and so on kind of looked like up till that time when they covered fantasy and so on.
It was lively.
It was not, the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was magical. It could put the magical touch and the realism, if you can say that, with animation. Yep. Now we look at it and we say, oh, it's just an animated film.
But if you look where it was, back then you're like, that was the special effects. Like, they were doing things and angles that cameras and actors couldn't do.
Nothing had been done like
and
this
the
before.
Color could not be matched, with what they are doing. It was going to be too much.
And Snow White was much more of a real character as opposed to a cartoon figure up there.
Wiggly arm, noodle arms. Yeah, that one's always fun.
Yeah. And so he immediately saw the future.
I like how we all did it.
We're like, wiggly arms.
Like, oh, look, we're all doing noodle arms.
So he saw it, but he was going to journalism, so he was going to go get a job in the newspaper business, but it was the 30s. We're in the Depression still. Nobody is hiring. And he went to every place looking for anything. He ended up selling vacuum cleaners. Oh, people make jokes about that. But yeah, he said he had his territory and he probably vacuumed every house in that territory and sold not a single vacuum cleaner. And so when the college called from his alumni house and said, hey, we got somebody from the Disney company that wants somebody in their PR department to write a newsletter. Are you interested? And, he'd been on the journalism team at college, and he said, yeah, it sounded great compared to vacuuming people for
It's like, my current job sucks right now. I got to get out of it.
I'll take anything.
And so he went, and Walt Disney was hiring because they had just released Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. They were very successful. They were expanding. They were starting to do Pinocchio. They were working on this new thing, Fantasia. Bambi was coming up there. They were expanding. They were still at their Hyperion office and not in their own studios yet. So he got to see what it was like there. And he says his first job working on this bulletin or whatever to kind of send out to other people to hype the what Walt Disney was doing. He said he was very locked down into his office and really didn't see what was going on too much. The only thing he really commented about it was there were Walt's peoples and there were Roy's peoples, and he was a Roy Disney person. He was more
PR.
the PR.
Business.
He was in the business end trying to raise money. And so there was that division in the company, and it was very
He's
clear.
like, I want to be with those guys. Those are the cool guys.
When we talk about legends, we're often talking about the Walt Disney side of the legends.
The creative guys.
The creative,
cool
the
guys.
people you hear about, you know.
My guy's one of those guys.
Yeah. So I'm giving you a different angle on somebody that's a Roy guy. He's on the bean counter side, but and so he's in this PR, and what happens is his boss gets fired, and the new boss comes in and lets him go. And he said, well, gee, you're not really looking forward to selling. Is there anything else you got here? Well, we're taking applications for story writers. And he thought, okay, journalism, story writing kind of goes along. He did their little test and gave his presentation, and they said, you are what we're looking for. Unfortunately, we don't have any room right now. But if you want to stay on, you can work over here in the traffic area, which are the gophers. You run around the place delivering film canisters or whatever anybody needs, or get somebody's coffee if you need to. Whatever needs to be done, that's what you do.
As long as he doesn't drink Waltz.
The pay was not very good, but he said what was going on there at Walt Disney was fun and exciting. And as this kind of gopher traffic boy, he was everywhere. He got into every corner of the business, got to see everything. And he says this place was magical. They were basically on top of each other, and there were the walls were really thin. So, you know, like when they were doing Fantasia, he said you'd walk down the hall and it's just every animator listening to a different piece of classical music at the same time. So it's just all this noise. It reminded me of being in college and walking down the practice halls for the music thing. And it's just all this going on, this excitement being shoulder to shoulder while you're working together for all these projects and so on. And it was just, he obviously was catching the bug. This is an exciting place to work and so on. He didn't really get very far before, and he was starting to look elsewhere because of money things. But World War II happened, and he was an A1 draftee, meaning he went right away. He got a job offer someplace else, but the government kind of threw that out, and
we got something else for you.
Yeah, he was a college graduate. He ended up being an officer lieutenant, and ended up being over logistics of getting his troops were getting the ammunitions to the forward troops logistics. And so on. Yeah, logistics and so on. Yeah,
hey, logistics wins wars.
Yes,
that's Napoleon. That's all.
And one of the things he learned there, I gather from what he was saying, is he learned how to recognize people's talents. He said he collected a lot of people for his troops. They were not great soldiers, but they were smart. They were the smartest people. They knew how to get things done. And so when he came back from the war, he kind of brought that ability back with him. And he didn't plan to go back to Disney, but one of the people that he used to work with came back from the war, got hired on as kind of in the accounting department as a senior executive with a lot of different things that were over, and he wanted to hire him as his number 2 guy.
He's all like, oh, you were in charge, but now I'm in charge.
Right.
So he came up, he said, well, you know, the money's better than definitely what I left with, and if I don't like it, I can always leave and go somewhere else.
That's it.
And so he tried it out. He was doing a lot of things he didn't like doing, particularly working for someone that he said, definitely an accountant, a bean counter, not a friendly guy. When he was making cuts, he'd just look at the numbers and not look at the personnel and realize, yeah, he may cost more, but he's doing a lot for the company and so on. And he would pass some of these insights on to Roy, and Roy started to catch on that, you know, maybe this young kid out of the Army knows something, you know. And so he was starting to get more things. One of the first things he was working on was the insurances for Disney. Oh, fun topic. And he didn't think it was fun either, and he didn't know anything about it. But all the insurance policies originally were written by Roy and Walt's older brother, Ray, who was single and a cat person, apparently. And when Jimmy Johnson showed Roy Disney what they could save if they started using somebody else in different manners, Roy said, blood's thicker than water, but in this case, we're going to go with saving money.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ray, Disney, you lost that business. Other things that Jimmy Johnson figured out is there's a lot of money in insurance for negative insurance, for your negatives for your films. If you film a film and if something were to happen to the negative, like when it was getting developed or anything else, then suddenly you have to refilm everything, and that costs a lot of money. And so you get insurance to do that. All the Hollywood studios did. But he reasoned out, wait a minute, we've got all the drawings. We got everything here. So it's not like we have to bring back actors and everything else back to reshoot it. We just refilm what we already have. And he talked the insurance companies
to lower the cost,
down to 10% of what they were paying before. Huge
that's
savings.
Huge.
Well, Roy Disney kind of liked that thinking there.
I like to see that little gecko get me those kind of savings, huh? No?
Yeah.
Not in good hands now, am I?
Right.
So he ended up getting married, and he was asked to, when he was over in Europe on his honeymoon, we'll pay for your honeymoon to Europe if you will go visit all these publicity sites for Disney of where they're doing the publicity for Disney in these individual states. It was kind
eyes on the ground. Like, well, are we getting our money's worth with these people?
He said one of the stories I found interesting was he talked about the guy in France. He said, this guy is fantastic. He got all the theaters to put Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs back into the theaters every Christmas time. So it became a tradition for everybody in France to go see Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs every Christmas in the movie theater. And so he pumped out all the things to purchase for Christmas around Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in the stores in December. And they were making a killing on making money. Now, this was back when Kay Kamen was in charge of all the merchandising for the company. And unfortunately, Kay Kamen died in an airplane crash in 1949, and this left a big hole in the company's merchandising. And so Jimmy Johnson kind of got moved into helping to this, which included publishing and music and so on. And so this is when he kind of moving into where Disney, where he's going to end up. And in the publishing business, he says he had two big successes. One was The Art of Animation, which was a book that Walt Disney really wanted.
It's a very important book in this house.
Every child has read that book for a book report.
That's The Art of Disney.
Oh, sorry.
This is The Art of Animation,
okay.
which was written in 1958. It can be a difficult book to find.
Do you have that one?
I did find one for $130 in eBay.
That's not bad.
No,
for a book, I was like, for a book, that's pretty. I've got an Indiana Jones book that's in the $300 range because of how rare it is.
In order to get one affordable, I had to get mine from India, from an animator in India, in order to get my copy. Now, this is one that was regularly available in the library when I was growing up, but.
Should have stole it.
No, I've got my copy.
Sorry,
now.
Grammy. I broke the library rule. I took one home for me.
It's probably the first fun book with graphics and so on that tells the story of how animation is made. And so that was one of his successes, is getting that done. And the other success, he says, was the Mickey Mouse Club magazine. He said he was very proud of that, but he missed the target audience age-wise, and he kind of shot a little bit above there, so they didn't necessarily connect with it. There were only 22 issues printed, but the information that was used in the articles that were done in that were used over and over again throughout the years after he left. So he was very proud of his work there. But eventually, they wanted to get into the music business and stop using other companies, which cost money, to have somebody else provide the music.
Yeah, there's always an upcharge. They gotta make a profit.
They gotta make a profit. So Roy was interested in, can we do this in-house? And other attempts they had tried had not worked well because they tried to do other things other than Disney music, and that's always a risk because nobody knows who these people are. And Roy finally decided, no, let's just work with the stuff that we've got going in-house and try to do
We've
that.
got a catalog, or we're developing a catalog.
And because Jimmy Johnson got word that Walt Disney was having a meeting about this show called Davy Crockett. And so...
Small show.
Small show.
Not impactful.
Not very impactful.
Not very impactful, but he got wind, and somehow he recognized this is going to be great for publicity, and we can make a lot of money on this. So he invited himself to this meeting with Walt Disney and the people that were putting this show together for Disney. And when he said he walked in, and Walt says, "What are you doing here?" and he explained, well, I'm looking
nothing
at
worse
this.
than being in a meeting and the big guy's like, "What are you?"
Who are
like
you?
the scrutinizing eyes, like, "You don't belong here." And you're like, "I was have to be here. I'm sorry."
He said basically, I see this as a great opportunity for publicity, and I want to be on the ground floor, so we're prepared and we can help push this through. And Disney said, "Okay,
You make me more money. I like that.
and as he watched the presentation, he said he watched these two guys that were in charge of it give a very dry, historic presentation on a storyboard of, this is Davy Crockett's life. He did this. He went there. And it was a story that was dying. And Walt Disney started to take over their presentation to him about, Davy Crockett did this and he did that, and he started to add some humor to what they were
When
saying.
did he kill him a bear? When he was only 3? Oh man,
And
that's
he
a great
just-
song.
He just built it up to where, the guys were suddenly starting to catch on to what Disney was envisioning with this Davy Crockett thing. And I suddenly realized I'd heard the Walt Disney saying a lot of times, a kid asking him, "What do you do if you don't draw Mickey Mouse and you don't do his mouth? What do you do?" And he said, "Well, I just a being. I go from place to place and I inspire people on everything." And I realized, this is a prime example. Yep. He took two guys that just, this is going to be a dry history lesson on Davy Crockett. And he just spun it into, this is a story. This is alive. This is exciting and fun, and turned a flat subject into something wonderful. And, he realized it was going to be in 3 parts. And so he said, I got to have a song that ties it all together. And they ended up with this Ballad of Davy Crockett. That thing sold through the roof. Again, this was still through the other people selling the record. So Disney only got a portion of that money instead of the whole thing. But at that point, Roy was saying, we need to have a go at this thing again so that we can rake in all the money. Of course,
it's like how you saw how much those guys made money. It was like, man, if we just take one hit and then invest in the infrastructure, then we can make more in the future. We're going to make more.
Music sells. You invest in your music, it'll sell.
And this was, of course, right at the same time they're building Disneyland, so money was really important. So they were looking for money any which way they could. And so Roy put Jimmy Johnson onto this, and he says everybody in the music industry made it out like it was some mystery how to distribute all this music and so on. And he said the only mystery is finding music that's going to be successful. Disney already found the music in their movies these were already successful tunes and so on. So he said it was more just doing the legwork.
Get it to the people.
Get it to the people. Find some independent distributors to get it out there. And so Roy gave the thumbs up, and they started putting it together. Their first big success was Ringle Wrangle from Westward Ho with Fess Parker.
I can't believe Peter knows that. That just blows.
Does it not surprise you that I know that?
Jingle, jingle, I know this song. You don't jingle,
I just have jealousy from
just
you.
like, I can't believe he knows all these. It just, like, I can't remember words to the song, but Peter's like, oh yeah, I know that obscure little
I
reference.
listened to that about 20 years ago. Yeah, I remember that.
I hate you.
Anyway, Fess Parker, who played Davy Crockett, was the one that sang it. So I think there was still plenty of Davy Crockett enthusiasm out there, and this thing sold like gangbusters, and they were bringing in money through the recording thing. And then Roy made a mistake and said, yeah, let's see if we can do some other records outside of the Disney. And they started to lose money on all these other things that they were trying to introduce, and it got to the point where in the late 50s, with all the negative, it was actually losing money for the company. Walt Disney was trying to shut down the record department because he said, I need this money for my films and my park and everything else, and Roy said, no, we're gonna keep trying.
We're gonna restructure it.
We got ahead of ourselves.
Around this time, Annette was growing.
I was is Annette going to come in here
yeah.
and the first Disney star that turns into a music star?
The second row person on Mickey Mouse Club who suddenly became front row. And Jimmy Johnson never really understood what the interest was in her. She wasn't that entertaining. And she was a ballet dancer. Okay, you can do that 1 or 2 episodes and then what? But He never understood why she was getting more mail than anybody else, and then he suddenly realized she's the person that everybody connects to. She's somebody I can relate to. She doesn't dance like Bobby or sing like Darlene, but she's somebody personable that can. And they started to do some music for her, and one of the things that Jimmy Johnson did was bring in a couple of artists like the Sherman Brothers.
He
just introduced them to the Disney company. I don't know.
Not very, their contributions are pretty minimal.
Did they get an award?
I think they got some sort of recognition.
Some sort of recognition. Okay.
So Jimmy Johnson was kind of partially responsible for that. And they also developed the Annette sound, which is where they put Annette's voice on top of herself, not just so much for the effect, but it covered up all the flaws in her.
They synthesized her voice.
Kind of like they do now with the
auto-tune.
But it was a 50s form of auto-tune, I guess.
They named it after her.
They did. Annette sound was what they called it. And it actually worked pretty well, and she sold lots of records. And
then she went on stage and was all like,
And Walt Disney started to ask questions about these two guys and said, I got Annette doing a movie and I want her to do some kind of song in there. And that's where the strumming song came along. And
you want to sing that one too, Peter?
I don't want to get copyright.
Good point. And Walt Disney, asked them to prepare this, and then he called the three of them, the Sherman Brothers and Jimmy Johnson, in for a meeting. And then Walt didn't bring up that particular song. He started talking about this Haley Mills movie about two twins or whatever, and he needed 2 songs for that. And he said, can you guys do that? And of course the Sherman Brothers said, sure, we can do that. And Jimmy Johnson said he made one of his big mistakes. He said, yeah, but we came here to bring you the song about Annette. And Walt's face just kind of dropped. He was not interested in this other thing that he sent him on in the first place. And he played that song for him, and he said, "Yeah, that'll do." And he thought, "Oh no, I've blown it with Walt."
When you lose it with Walt, his body was like, "No."
Yep.
Fortunately, he was still in with Roy, but
I still got the boring brother.
I got the one that makes the
The money. Keeps,
money.
Yeah.
He keeps everything flowing.
yes.
Anyway, he invited him back and listened to the two songs about the Parent Trap, and Walt Disney loves them, loves it, and says, "I'm also ever hear about Mary Poppins. I'm thinking about doing this movie on this. Can you just take a look at it?" And they weren't familiar with the story. So read the book and see if there's any songs in there. And this is before he had rights to it or anything, but he sent them on the way, and then. After they came back with Supercalifragilistic and Feed the Birds, Walt went to Jimmy Johnson and said, "I'm thinking about hiring these people as studios." He had studio musicians for the early years in the 30s and 40s, but they were just kind of rolling through them during the 50s. And so he wanted to bring back so he could have the personal touch of talking to musicians. And he hired the Sherman Brothers, and
Did they do okay?
They did okay, but Walt Disney said they want too much money, so half of it's coming out of your record business, and the other half is coming out of the production company. So, yeah.
So
Jimmy Johnson
Jimmy
said
didn't
that,
like the Sherman Brothers. He's like, nah.
Jimmy Johnson said that Walt Disney did that a lot in order to defray the costs of production and spread it out, so on. He just said yes because it's Walt Disney. What do you say?
You don't say no to him. Like, okay, yes, sir.
Don't drink his coffee. Don't tell him no.
And that was good because when the word of Mary Poppins got out and that they got Julie Andrews and this guy named Dick Van Dyke in there and everything else going on, RCA and Columbia were coming down to the Disney corporate office and saying, "We want a chance to distribute the music for this show, and
we want this easy
and
money."
Then when they get it demonstrated to them, they say, "Oh no, we want it. We really want. We want to do this."
Yeah.
And Roy said, "Well, we'll listen to you, see what your offer is." And after the
what are your numbers?
Yep.
after that, Roy asked Jimmy Johnson, "So what do you think?" And Jimmy says, "Well, they can't do anything that we can't, and we'll make a lot more money if we do it." And he said, "I thought that you'd say that. Go for it. Sell it. Sell it. Sell it." And they sold 5 million copies or whatever.
Yeah.
And was just amazing. They tried to promote it by getting other singers to sing the songs, but when the other production company, because that was the way that they produce it, try to get it out there, get a lot of people singing the songs to help promote it or so on. But anytime he would show the album or play the music for any of these other production companies, they'd go, "Wow, that's fantastic," and they'd go away and nobody'd make any offers to make songs off of it. And basically, what he was finding out is, Julie Andrews and Dick Van Dyke are so perfect. How can we top this? And so, because there weren't all that distribution, everything was coming to this one album, and it sold gangbusters, and the record business was flying like crazy after that. They never lost money. They were making money for the business.
And then Father Yoder was born, and then he just started buying
I was
everything.
born before that.
I
so-
know, but you're like, and then he realized he could buy music, and he's kept them afloat for years.
No, I have done that. I mean, that Mary Poppins album, when I was put in charge a lot of time to put on the dinner music, and I would pick Mary Poppins and The Sound of Music almost 100% of the time. Occasionally I'd say, well, I guess we got to mix it up a little bit. But yeah, most of the records that he mentioned that he had an influence on were like, wow, those are the records I grew up, and records were huge as a child. I mean, you couldn't put on a videotape to replay it. You put on the record to rewatch the Jungle Book, and
to get the memories flowing of that, because it's either at the movie theater or you got the music. Music was your take home of that.
And so all that music, I grew up, everything, all the storybooks that tell the story along the way of those things. He was the one that wrote those stories. One of their most successful albums that they put out was the sounds of the haunted house, with the special effects. He says there's no, we didn't have to pay any royalties on that, so we made gangbusters besides selling a ton of these records at Halloween time.
I bet. Just sound effects, yeah.
He also had a hand in the Disney parks. When Disneyland was opening, they were going to have a music shop, and so Walt Disney said, you do the inside of the Disney shop, set up the store so it works and so on. And so he said they got great property there on the right side of Main Street, so that's everybody walked right by it. And he had put a player piano right at the front window, and Walt Disney said, smart move. And surely everybody came down there, and as we were walking down the street, they'd see this piano player playing, and they would stop, and there would just be a crowd around there watching it, because the kids had never seen it, and the parents remembered when Aunt so-and-so had one of those in their house, and they sold rolls of player piano rolls like crazy in there. So he talked about getting that shop set up with his young family. Oldest was 5, youngest was like 6 months or something, and while they were getting that started at Disneyland. And then also, because there was so much music involved, when they built Country Bear Jamboree and America Sings, he was very involved in getting the music selected for those things, because they're all about music. So that was what he had to say. He said it was fun listening to what life was like at the new studio with in Burbank, and the cafeteria where Walt had a table for 6 people. Right next to it was Roy's table for 6 people, and then there was the Wed Imagineers had their table, and then there was the studio story writers had their table. And he said after he hired the Sherman Brothers, he noticed that they were sitting there in the writers' table, and he thought, well, if they can go there, then I can go there, because it was kind of
right.
It was open to everybody, but it was hard to get reservations. So he started to go there too, and he says it was fun because also all the artists that would come would also sit at that table. He said there was another table in another corner that was the lawyer table. Started out
the weirdos at table 9.
Nobody wants that table.
There were like 2 when it started, but it kept growing and growing and growing to where it was the biggest table in the room pretty soon. And so he said it was fun being there. Julie Andrews would be sitting there at the table, and everybody would treat her like a prince, royalty. But she says she always wanted to be a bad person. But anytime she did a bad person movie, the reviewers would say, well, this is not Mary Poppins. And so everybody stayed away because they wanted to remember Julie Andrews as Mary Poppins.
She got typecast.
It's kind of like Fess Parker wanted to be an opera singer. Well, no, you're Davy Crockett. So he didn't find success until he went to... Davy Crockett. He could sing Ringle Wrangle, the opera, no. So he didn't find success again until he did Daniel Boone, which is like
basically
David Crockett.
I always thought, for 6
are they
years. Different?
Yeah.
Is there anything different here? He didn't die at the Alamo. That's a good thing. They could keep it going for a lot longer.
Yeah.
He said Peter Ustinov was who played Blackbeard's ghost, which I know you reviewed.
Oh, yeah.
Peter Ustinov was the best person at the table because he could tell stories like no other and made them fun. He said he was the funnest person to have.
Boy, what a cool cafeteria.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So it was fun getting all these little insights. Once Walt Disney passed away, And then Roy, 5 years after that,
It's a different company.
a different company. Politics came inbound, and things got sour, and he kind of ended up with early retirement and so on. But it was definitely the most beneficial period for the record company before CDs came along, anyway. And
Kind of that foundation for the
a
music
great
of
success
the
and
Disney.
start for the Disney company.
Yeah.
Jimmy Johnson,
Jimmy Johnson.
2006 legend.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a great story. All right, so I've got James Alger.
Who's that?
Okay, I was wondering if, at least Father Yodel, if you would even recognize his name. But you may not recognize his name, but you for sure are very familiar with the projects he was put in charge of. But we'll build into that here. So basically, he was born in 1912 in Modesto, California. There, he was really into being a cartoonist, and so he was a cartoonist in his local neighborhood paper as well as his school paper. It eventually took him into when he went to Stanford. He got a master's degree in journalism. There's gonna be a lot of similarities.
Sounds similar.
You were saying stuff. I'm like, yeah, there's there. There's
But he
that,
was
there's
a
that.
Walt guy.
He was definitely a Walt guy. Definitely. But he was the editor of the newspaper there at Stanford, and so but his passion was always in animation and storytelling and things like that. And so pretty much as soon as he graduated, he got hired on by Disney as just a basic animator. They had just started work on Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and he was kind of put in charge of the animals.
Okay. There were a few of those.
There were quite a few of those, wasn't there? And so about bringing those characters to life, whereas like the animals originally, they weren't meant to be these like eye-catching. It was just, okay, there's animals there. But eventually they had a special part.
He got them
in the
trained to
movie.
do the dishes. So
Exactly. And so like originally like the scenes with the animals, they weren't meant to be entertaining. And I think he shared a story of how he actually got to go to the premiere, which was very difficult. He actually got to go to the premiere and see people reacting to
his
his
animals.
sequences and things like that, and realizing that people are connecting to sequences that he didn't realize people were going to like connect to and laugh at and like really enjoy. And so it was like really cool for him to see that. Walt saw in him, he goes, I like this guy. I'm going to put him in charge of more things. And so he says, why don't you get working on this Mickey Mouse short that I want you to develop. It's going to be groundbreaking. And he's like, okay. It's called The Sorcerer's Apprentice. And so he started working on that before Fantasia was even
Right.
a thought, which I didn't realize was a thing. I didn't realize that
It was separate.
Sorcerer's Apprentice was predates Fantasia.
Yeah, I actually got in Jimmy Johnson as one of the errand boys. He got to go to the meeting when Walt Disney announced we're going to expand this to be a feature film and everything. And he says that was just magical because here was everybody working for Disney, and they were all gathered around, mostly sitting on the floor, watching at this projection. I think he said on the ceiling of a lot of line drawings, probably of
Right.
Mr. Alger, about Mickey Mouse and so on. And it was just, and then Walt Disney started describing and everything, and it was like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs all over. The magic was all excited.
And he just got this reputation of knowing how to tell stories, and so he was actually put in charge of Bambi.
That makes sense.
So,
Animals.
Animals,
Okay.
and things like so. That was his movie. Then World War II happened, and studio got kind of put on hold, but he still was put to work. He was actually the director behind probably one of the more famous wartime shorts was the Power Through Air Power.
Okay.
Which led Walt to go, you took this really boring subject and made it entertaining. I want you to try something new that we've never done before. I want you to try to do these nature documentaries. And he was the one that started the True Life Adventure.
Oh.
Like, he was in charge of all of it.
Animals, okay.
Animals, nature, and he revolutionized how people look at documentaries even now. So
They were very entertaining in school. Always loved it when they would bring it to school and
Because
we'd watch that.
he would create the stories that, the narrator would normally state. Be like, oh, this is Betsy and she's going out to go get food. Oh, but it's disappointed. Like, create
When a
these
bear
narratives.
ate her.
Oh no! He was really good about piecing together these random recordings of animals in the wild and to create and narrate a story.
Isn't that what they're trying to do with the new Avengers film? They got all these scenes and they're like, I don't know how to make a movie. It's really cool, but I don't know how this is coming together.
More or less. And so he was masterful at this, to the point where he's accredited with...
I want to see that now, where you got a narrator explaining what's going on in the Avengers movies. That'd be good.
Watch, we have Thor getting himself pumped up to electrocute someone.
But he found great success. He's accredited with 8 Academy Awards himself.
Those True Lives got several of them.
So much. He was eventually, as Walt Disney does, Walt Disney had so much faith and trust in him that, like, Walt didn't even really give him any advice or help or guidance at all when it comes to the True Life Adventure. You're just gonna all right, that's your thing. Him and Walt, like, they got storytelling. They understood the importance of it, and that's why Walt let him be. And so, you're good. You do you. And as Walt does, he likes to move people around. And so eventually he moved him. He says, hey, I'm working on these projects for the World's Fair. And he calls him and he says, I need help with the Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln show. And so he's the person who listened to, who read all of the old speeches of Lincoln and pieced together the speech that we now hear in the show.
Oh, that's great.
So he wrote, he composed, or
here's Abraham Lincoln in nature looking for food.
So, like, yeah.
Watch out, Mr. Booth popped out of the bushes.
So he's attributed to that. He's also attributed to the America the Beautiful film. That was kind of his thing, nature documentary sort of
Nature
thing.
and patriotism.
Yep. And then you guys might not realize, but, when you're on the train ride at Disneyland and you go to the Grand Canyon, well, that's based off of his movie. So that's actually, you can consider that an IP attraction.
The Grand Canyon movie? Yeah.
They use the same music from the movie.
I saw that one too many times in grade school.
Yeah, I bet you did. And, yeah. But yeah, like his impact, although like you don't hear his name, his works speak for him. That, like, we got Adventureland was basically designed because of his documentaries. He got, Mr. Lincoln. Like, it wasn't just movies that he's accredited with. He's also has a huge theme park footprint as well. So much that, in his career, he inspired a lot of people. George Lucas wrote to him after the success of Star Wars.
So Alger actually wrote Star Wars.
No, but he inspired George Lucas to go into filmmaking.
Oh, okay.
He says, it's because of your films that inspired me to go into filmmaking.
Oh.
So
Now
If we didn't
that's why he got the Legend Award.
So
Okay.
if we didn't have Alger here, we wouldn't have Star Wars. Just saying. But the fact that like his impact, it has impacted the way a lot of we see in entertainment, especially when it comes to documentaries and storytelling. Like now when you watch those nature documentaries, they all do the thing that he started. And he ended up, so he was actually kind of he was there at the studio the last day Walt visited the studio. And he actually got to meet with him, and he talked about how like Walt didn't look very good that day. He looked like he was in a lot of pain, and they had a meeting about the plans, the future, and then he shortly passed away after that. And it was as similar situation to Jimmy, where Roy passed away, and then the company changed. And
what do you do here? I do documentaries. Yeah, we're not doing that anymore.
Well, it wasn't necessarily that. He just didn't. He left on his own accord. It wasn't like they were laying people off and he was on that chopping list. It was more like, I don't like the culture here anymore now that Walt is gone.
The party has ended.
That's what Jimmy
a lot
Johnson
of people
said.
left, I'm sure.
Yeah, there was a lot. And
It's kind of like what the Imagineers, as soon as like Epcot and Tokyo ended,
Yeah.
it's like it changed the culture of Imagineering, and there was just that big riff.
But yeah, I mean, he went on. He retired. I believe it was 71. It was like 71 or 73, somewhere around there.
Probably 73 after Roy passed away.
Yeah, it was somewhere around there. I'm trying to pull up my thing here, but he then retired back to his hometown in Modesto, and he later suffered a stroke and passed away several years later, which he then got. He was awarded the Disney Legend Award in, I believe it was 98. It was in 1998. So, which his kids accepted on his behalf. But it's just kind of inspiring to hear all of these stories that we all shared today of these people who we all know their work. We just don't know these people. And to see them actually get the recognition they deserve is great. And that's why I love the Disney Legends. I may disagree with some of their picks and people that they don't pick. I'm still waiting for
some of it's a popularity contest
Jim
instead
Cummings
of
Jim Cummings still
does not have a Disney Legends. That's the one that blows.
They're
my
waiting
mind.
for posthumously, probably.
Like talk about voiceover work. My goodness, he's a voice of like
Of all our childhood.
Yeah.
Yes,
You can't see Winnie the Pooh without thinking of
he's
it.
still going from the 90s to now. He's still pumping
There's
things
probably a
out.
mandatory raise if you get a legend while you're still working, so
Right.
they want to wait until...
Maybe they wait till he's officially retired.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be
Kind of like the
same.
Hall of Fame. You got to
Yeah.
wait a couple years.
I think that's
afterwards.
they probably waiting for him to retire.
You don't want to be walking around and be like, oh, you don't have one of these? I'm the only one in the company that's working as one of these.
right.
I'm just going to put it on top of my work right here. Ever since he got that Legend Award, he has not been the same.
But let us know what you guys think. I think we learned a lot. I think we all, when we picked the people that we picked, we didn't realize what we were picking when we picked it. And let us know if there was something interesting you found. If there's a specific Disney legend you would like us to talk about next time we do a Legends episode, let us know. You can reach out to us on all our social medias. But until next time, Auf Wiedersehen.
It's time for another yodeler. Original song inspired by this week's episode.
The legends of Disney are heroes to the Disney legacy. Their symbol is a spiral, a hand and a wand. The spiral stands for their imagination, the power of an idea. The hand stands for their skill, discipline as craftsmen. The wand represents the magic spark when their imagination and skills unite, and a dream turns into reality. Walt Disney said, "You can dream, create, design, and build the most wonderful place in the world. But it requires people to make the dream a reality." From Fred MacMurray in '87 to Bob Iger in '26, from Christina Aguilera in '19 to Hans Zimmer, the Disney legends have sparked ideas into a magical reality. Wing T. Chow was such a legend out of swampland. He created an Epcot where the transportation flowed. Monorails, buses, and cars, it's all got to move you. From swamplands to oceans, he turned cruise ships from couple destinations to a family wonderland. Wing T. Chow knew how to give his creations a magical flow. He gave it all a magical flow. From Fred MacMurray in '87 to Bob Iger in '26, from Christina Aguilera in '19 to Hans Zimmer, the Disney legends have sparked ideas into a magical reality. Bessie Walker was such a legend, a music man. He had formed 30 bands in 10 years, hired by Disney for 2 weeks to form a marching band for Disneyland's opening. That 2-week performance was extended beyond Walt's living dreams. For over 12 years, Bessie led the Disneyland band through 1,600 performances per year. Bessie Walker led the music into a magical flow. He gave the land a magical flow. From Fred MacMurray in '87 to Bob Iger in '26, from Christina Aguilera in '19 to Hans Zimmer, the Disney legends have sparked ideas into a magical reality. Jimmy Johnson was such a legend. He was one of Roy Disney's men, turning Walt Disney's music into a successful record business. He turned children's listening time to a time of wonder and imagination. Jimmy Johnson, let that imagination flow. He gave those records a magical flow. From Fred MacMurray in '87 to Bob Iger in '26, from Christina Aguilera in '19 to Hans Zimmer, the Disney legends have sparked ideas into a magical reality. James Alger was such a legend, animating Snow White's animals. He brought them alive with character, which brought him to Bambi. And the storytelling of true life adventures, so good at storytelling, he got to assemble Abe Lincoln's Opera House speech. James Alger made Disney store it, let him flow. He gave those stories a magical flow. From Christina Aguilera in '19 to Hans Zimmer, the Disney legends have sparked ideas into a magical reality. From Wing T. Chow in '19 to Bessie Walker in 2005, from Jimmy Johnson in '06 to James Alger in '98. From a spiral, a hand and wand, legends are born. The Disney legends have sparked ideas into a magical reality. They let the Disney magic
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Matterhorn Yodelers. Please remember before your bobsled comes to a complete stop to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
And remember, remain seated, please.
Permanecer sentados, por favor.